Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Needy No More, the podcast dedicated to healing the anxious attachment style. I'm your host, anxious attachment style coach and author, Chris Ratcliffe. I've helped thousands of people across 6 continents to end the cycle of anxious attachment through my books, workshops, digital downloads, and coaching program. I'm excited to carry on that mission here on the podcast, sharing tools and techniques, principles, and practices for you to explore on your journey to growing more secure. Welcome back, everyone. Today's a little bit different. I need to rant. I'm not sure if you've seen, but there have been a few articles lately, including in The Cut and Time, that have talked about being cringe in dating. I hate to even use that word, because it implies something that has such a negative connotation for something that is deeply positive and human. Wanting connection. Now, if you're not familiar with this kind of trend or pattern, let me take a step back and describe it for you. So lately, let's say in the past few years in dating, many people will describe being overly excited or overly effusive or overly communicative with someone as cringe. You know, there's always kind of been this descriptor of people who, quote unquote, come on too strong as having something wrong with them. And yet, what we know about neuroscience and the way the brain works is that as human beings, we are neurologically hardwired for connection. Our brain responds positively to it. We thrive when we are surrounded by healthy, positive connection. So it's a good thing. It's something that is an innate human desire to hold. And yet our society shames people for desiring it and rewards people who are avoidant, distant, who hold back, who play games. And this is something that has to stop in dating. I think part of why there's such a dissatisfaction with the current culture of dating and why people are rebelling against the idea of things like dating apps and even reverting back to things from the 90s and early 2000s like speed dating events and more IRL analog approaches to dating is because of this culture, because someone's emotional availability is described as quote unquote cringe. You can even hear it in the way that we discuss dating, in the dating discourse overall. There's a lot of mentions of the ick, right? A lot of people will say, this person gave me the ick because they did this. And if you're not familiar with this terminology, the ick means someone gets turned off by some sort of action that the other person has engaged in, or some sort of behavior they've exhibited or displayed. So someone experiencing the ick is being turned off. And sometimes we know these going into our interactions with other people, and sometimes we don't. There are certain things that might cause us to be more attracted to someone else, that might increase attraction, and there are certain things that might decrease attraction. That is a tale as old as time. That is genuine. It's okay. You're never going to be 100% attracted to someone. Everyone has their quirks. Everyone has aspects of their personality that might push someone else away, whether they intend to or not. And yet, again, culturally, we reward someone pulling away. We say, oh yeah, that would give me the ick too. And so there's a sort of social currency that has been derived from finding someone's quirks, which are a natural part of getting to know someone, and someone's differences as a reason to discard them entirely. I hope it goes without saying, but this is incredibly problematic and reductive and oversimplified. Of course, there are going to be parts of a person that you don't like. No one is perfect. Also, we need to have a very serious conversation as a society and as a species about how we are dating and mating. Perfection does not exist. And looking for the one has, in many ways, caused us to dismiss many people that we can actually have very fruitful, meaningful, long-term connections with. There's a lot of options out there now. Someone new is just a swipe away. There are many, many people at our fingertips at every second of every day. So it's easier than ever to meet people, and yet somehow harder than ever to connect. I think in some ways, too, hiding behind a screen causes us to perfect, to put forward the best possible version of ourselves. We see this on social media because people only share the highlight reels from their life. They only share the positive moments. Very rarely do you see people sharing about their struggles or talking very authentically or openly about something that challenged them versus sharing a win or a milestone or a promotion or a baby announcement or a graduation or something worth celebrating. And this isn't to diminish those accomplishments at all, because we all have them and we all deserve to be celebrated. But this is to say that many of us have learned to be inauthentic through digital experiences and through using devices and apps in particular. This bleeds over into dating. Many of us select the photos where we think we look the hottest. We want to put the best possible foot forward on a dating app. If we're going to make a first impression, let's make it a good one. And this isn't to say that I disagree with that. But that needs to be counterbalanced by showing more of your personality, by being more authentic, to show, instead of a perfectly perfected photo that's filtered, something that is less refined, that's more real, raw, human, messy. Balancing these aspects is something that I recommend many of my clients do when they're creating their dating profiles. Yes, put forward the image where you look hot. Of course, upload it. I wouldn't want you to keep it from the app, but balance that with more moments that are every day. Because if that relationship is going to go anywhere, if that match is going to turn into a conversation and then a date and then more dates and then eventually a defining of that relationship and being together in a committed partnership, then that person is going to see those other sides of you. And I hope that you let them see those other sides of you. Little by little, fine, but give them a little preview of it at the outset. Many people are going to listen to this and cringe at that. You might even think, oh God, I could never do that. I could never show my imperfections. And look, I get it. It's hard to be vulnerable because you're facing potential rejection and abandonment. And for many of us on the anxious side of the attachment spectrum, what could be more scary than that? What could be more exposed than that? That hits at some of our deepest core wounds. But vulnerability and rejection are the price we pay for connection. You can't have a real relationship if you yourself aren't willing to get real. So here's what I'll say. If being real and authentic and true to yourself, if embodying your values of wanting to communicate and being earnest about how you feel about someone and expressing interest pushes someone away, causes them to cringe at your emotional availability and to dismiss you and detach and distance themselves, that is all the data that you need about being misaligned with someone. Because when you open up your heart and you share it with someone, when you share parts of yourself with someone, you want them to be met with a relatively high degree of safety and acceptance and openness. And when someone is saying, ugh, that's cringe, why is he messaging me so many times? What they're really saying is, I'm not ready for the kind of depth that this person is offering. I hope that we start to see more authenticity, more genuineness, more cringiness on dating apps and in dating experiences in 2026 and beyond. It's refreshing when someone opens up and is honest about how they feel and what they want, when someone lays their cards on the table and says, This is who I am. This is what I'm looking for. This is what I desire. That's real. That is a risk. And if someone is going to treat that risk so carelessly, so callously, then you want to know sooner rather than later. So rejection actually does become a form of protection. It's a way for you to suss out who's really ready for connection and who's not. So be more cringe. And perhaps we should even stop characterizing it as such. I think that's probably a good direction for the discourse around dating to take. Emotional availability is not cringe. Authenticity is not cringe. At this point in my life and in my healing, I consider myself securely attached. I would pick every time the person who is being honest and earnest, who's being real and raw, who's being vulnerable, over someone who's being refined and polished and perfect. Every single time, I will choose the former over the latter. That should tell you everything that you need to know about how you should show up. Yes, your earnestness, your honesty, your vulnerability are going to push certain people away. As I tell my clients all the time, you need to get comfortable with losing certain people who are not in alignment with you. That loss is actually a win. But at the end of the day, you cannot be for everyone. And it is in this attempt that people are wanting to put their best foot forward digitally, either on a dating app, on social media, wherever, that is actually harming us as a society and as a species. It's harming our relationships. It is eroding trust. It is increasing the amount of insecurity out there because so many of us are experiencing these micro moments of rejection and disappointment when we are being real. We need to start rewarding realness. We need to stop characterizing someone's vulnerability as being cringe. Go out there, wear your heart on your sleeve. Yes, you're going to get hurt. You're going to get rough and tumbled a little bit, but please do not let that discourage you. It is a part of the journey. It is a part of learning what you do not desire in relationships, which is just as valuable as learning what you do desire. My biggest wish is that in dating, we can start being more genuine. Truly, I hope we can get there because our species depends on it. It depends on the ability of people to connect deeply. That's what so many of us desire. And yet our behavior, our attempt to be rewarded for our distance and avoidance is outweighing our need for connection now, at least on a surface level. I'll close by saying this. If you really want to connect, you need to drop the ways that you protect or perfect. And I hope that more of us can learn to do that. Lean in to your authenticity. Lean in to what the youngins are calling being cringe. Be emotionally available. Be expressive. But most of all, be true, be honest to yourself and where you are. Always. You can't go wrong when you do this. It will attract people who are looking for the same depth that you are. All right, end rant for today. I'll link the articles from The Cut and from Time in the show notes, so feel free to check those out. And as always, you can reach out to me at Crackliff, CRACKLIFFE.com. Be sure to rate and review and subscribe. It means a lot as an independent creator, and every little bit helps. Thank you all so much, and I'll see you next time.